going on, everybody? James and I are back after a little technical difficulties, but I think you can now see us, so take that for what it's worth, good or bad. But quick recap. We talked about all the high point spreads. James, there was like 5, 6, 7 games on this 11-game slate.
Too many to count.
Too many to count. Over 220. A couple of games over 230. One game you said was approaching like 240 in an over-under total.
Yeah, 238. Yeah, 238.5.
Which game's that one?
The Lakers-Suns game.
Lakers-Suns, 238.5. Pretty crazy. Before we cut away, we were going over the point guard position. Quick recap there. Both James and I are big Steph Curry fans tonight, and his matchup against John Wall. We think Kemba Walker is in a crush play here against the Chicago Bulls. Big fan of his. I like Trae Young a lot tonight against Dallas. Dennis Smith Jr. had a 110 defensive rating last season. Young's going to take a bunch of shots. He went for 60 DraftKings points last game, 55 over on FanDuel. I think that's sort of where we cut off. So if we're going to move down a little bit, James, what do you think about some value point guards? Or are there any other point guards maybe we glossed over?
Yeah, we touched on Mike Conley. I think he's viable for all formats. I think two people that are now in play, a question that we got right before we cut out, is Michael Carter-Williams and Cameron Payne, who I think both you have to at least consider. You don't have to play them. I think Cameron Payne is probably the safer of the two because we saw he sucked the first time he started, but the second game he played 28 minutes and scored 28 fantasy points. He scored actually double-digit real points, so I think that's kind of encouraging. And I think he's more likely to get minutes as opposed to Carter Williams, who, they could just put the ball in Harden's hands, Eric Gordon's hands. They don't need Michael Carter Williams for really anything. I think he's just one of those fillers.
Yeah.
I think that's something
I don't really expect him to play much, to be honest with you.
Right.
He's going to start, but he's sort of starting out of position unless they roll 3 guards. Eric Gordon and Harden. I think this could be maybe a Carmelo Anthony type game. Not that you can really say type game, but I think he could potentially be the one to benefit the most, with this move in lineup, with the way they're running it. Any other point guards worth mentioning here?
I'm so sad you just mentioned Carmelo Anthony, but no, there are not.
I know. All right, let's jump over to the shooting guard spot. Obviously, James Harden is kind of king over there, both sites, top price play. I think you can definitely go to him the way Utah's been playing defense. They haven't been playing defense. Again, given the guys that they're also on the slate, Giannis, LeBron, Embiid, Durant, Curry. So it's going to be widespread in an 11-game slate, but I still think Harden, without Chris Paul, has a ceiling just as high as any of them.
Yeah, and last year, essentially against the same Utah team, he averaged 34.8 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 6.8 assists a game. So, if that's going to be the production, sign me up for a low-owned James Harden in Utah. These are the type of plays that can win you a tournament.
Yeah, for sure. What other shooting guards are on your radar today?
I think Devin Booker is he's quickly become maybe my point per dollar favorite play of the slate, just because we know how frequently he can score. He hasn't been great, and the game has risen. When I wrote up the playbook this morning, it was 236.5. It is now up to 238.5. 238.5 with the Lakers favored by 5. So,
it's good.
It's at a home. It's a home game. They should stay in this contest. The Lakers aren't great. They have LeBron, who I expect to just go nuts tonight. But Devin Booker, we know, is a monster. His usage rate, DeAndre Ayton, we figured, would take some usage. There's CJ Warren, there's Josh Jackson, there's all these guys that, could take usage from Booker. Third in the NBA. So I have no issues with him. I think this is an absolute blow-up spot. I think if you can possibly fit him and LeBron in a lineup, do a little game stack with those two, I think it could absolutely go nuts.
You can definitely fit him in. There's plenty of value on the slate to make that happen. If you remember the last live stream we did, I think it was on Monday, we ran down all the shooting guards that were in that low 7K range. It was DeRozan, Beal, Mitchell, Levine, Middleton, all these guys. Well, most of them got a bump up in price. Hardaway actually got a decrease. Middleton stayed about the same, but Levine, Beal, and DeRozan all got bumps up. How do you feel about the shooting guard in that sort of 7 to 8K range?
So I think Levine is my favorite of the group. I think it's a no-brainer. He scored 30 plus points in all 3 games he's played. The usage is there. There's no Chris Dunn, so he's going to demand the ball even more. So I think he's probably the safest. I know he doesn't provide us with a ton of peripherals, but he's been doing enough to warrant it. I think Beal is a really nice, like, if you want to get a late night hammer exposure, Beal is fine. Klay Thompson's a little banged up. He's going to play, but we don't know how that's going to like affect his defense. I think Middleton's fine. I don't love it. I don't hate it. 7.6K is but I think
putting up 40 fantasy points.
Right.
Most matchups there.
And I'm not like complaining about it. I just, I think he's a good peripheral guy, but I think Giannis kind of hampers that.
Definitely the top guy, and the fact that Simmons might play, it kind of hurts it a little bit because maybe Redick would have been on the floor more, and I'll take Middleton versus Redick all day. But I still think Middleton's a good option. Hardaway versus Miami, I think, is a decent spot for him as well. I thought you were going to go with your boy Luka. You were all over him last game. That paid off. 33 fantasy points in 36 minutes. Now he gets Atlanta. I think he's another guy that's in play. We love this Dallas-Atlanta game. So, I was surprised, you didn't really jump to him.
Well, so in my playbook, I wrote up Wes Matthews, and I did say about Doncic, I think there's upside, but why don't we just save the money from Doncic, go down to Matthews, who's arguably been more consistent? I mean, it's been 27 plus in DK points in all 3 games he's played this year. He's going to play the minutes. Rick Carlisle absolutely loves him. There's no Devin Harris. There's no Harrison Barnes. So that, he's secure. His minutes are stable. So I think that is the only reason why I don't have Doncic. I just prefer the savings on Wes Matthews. That's really all it is.
My guy is right below him, Joe Ingles. If we're talking Michael Carter-Williams at small forward, or Carmelo Anthony at small forward, or Eric Gordon kind of going out there, I guess as long as it isn't PJ Tucker, the one that's going to defend him, which I don't know if that's going to be the case, I think this is an amazing spot for him. He's a perimeter shooter. He only went 1 for 7 from 3 against Memphis and still had 30 fantasy points. He is not going to go 1 for 7 from 3 again, especially not in this matchup. I love him this tonight. I think he's going to be in a lot of my lineups.
Yeah, I think Ingles and Crowder both playing the small forward-ish position are both really nice, solid plays in tournaments. I think Crowder you could play in all formats. I'd probably prefer Ingles in a tournament, but I think, a sneaky route might be like a little game stack, a little mini stack. Harden, Ingles, Crowder, Eric Gordon. If you want to get really crazy, you could do Michael Carter-Williams or PJ Tucker. But yeah, I like both. Ingles. He's a really nice price tag. I think I want to say he was over 7K on DraftKings.
No, he's 60.
Oh no. So he's been going up.
He's only small forward eligible on FanDuel, where he's 6,600. But again, I know there's a lot of talent there at the small forward position tonight, but I just think in this spot it's a really great option. And this is a guy that we already saw go for 45 fantasy points in an up-tempo, fast-paced, high-scoring game against Golden State. Could be in the same exact position here tonight. I think, like I said, I'm just kind of a big fan of his. Moving down sort of into that lower range at shooting guard, Josh Hart. I think it's time we sort of give him more credit than than we've been giving him so far. 41 fantasy points against the Spurs. He had 37 against Portland to open the year. He definitely has a role in this team, especially while the suspensions are going on. $5,800 over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Hart's listed at $6,400, a little bit more expensive, but still. You talk about this matchup versus Phoenix. You talk about the 238 game total. Josh Hart, nice little value play, I think.
I don't hate it. I don't love it either. I think the price tag is getting a little crazy. I know the production has been there, and the minutes have been there, and really everything surrounding him has been there. But there's something about this game that just screams LeBron James just in every facet, and I think that's going to take away from Hart's production on the rebounding side. I think it takes away from Kuzma's production on the scoring side. I just have the feeling it's his new team. Yeah. They're 0-3 in this up-tempo game. That's why I'm hesitant to play hard at the price tag. I'm not disputing that he's been great, and I'm not saying he can't do it again. I just don't think that he's going to get 10 rebounds again with LeBron. He's just going to be everywhere the ball is. Just watch LeBron, because that's where he's going to be. LeBron's going to be at every stop the ball makes, LeBron makes it.
Yeah, he definitely. They're not gonna. He doesn't want to lose to Phoenix. That's for sure. Moving down the list, the guy I was ready to lock in my lineups before the Ben Simmons news came out that he's probably going to play was JJ Redick. When do you think the last time Redick had back-to-back 30 real point games? Maybe never. Maybe never.
Maybe never.
Yeah, maybe never. 28 three-pointers attempted over those last 2 games, 41 shots. But again, with Simmons coming back, usage rate goes down. It's going to be hard to trust him.
Agreed.
To go that upside. He's probably still a little bit in play. But you got to think maybe his ceiling is 30 points as opposed to 40. So I kind of think you can move past him. You mentioned Wes Matthews. Full agreement with you there. I think he's a great option. Rodney Magruder, I think, is another guy that continues to be in play. I know Justice Winslow is going to be back, but there's still some injuries there in Miami. And Magruder, back-to-back 40 DraftKings point nights, going almost 10x in those games. Again, high-scoring contest against Charlotte and Washington certainly helped that. He's been nails, shooting the ball, very efficient, contributing in all categories as well. So, I'll give him another go as long as he's in the starting lineup and there's no real threat of a Deion Waiters or Wayne Ellington or something like that taking minutes from him. I think he's a pretty solid option.
Yeah, as long as there's no depth because they don't have any because everyone's hurt, I'm completely fine with Rodney Magruder.
Yep. Any other shooting guards catching your eye? You're ready to move the small forward?
I just want to throw out one name for the public, and you'll thank me later when it hits. Damian Dotson of the Knicks is only projected to be 2% owned on both DraftKings and FanDuel. He's not flashy, okay, but he's 3.5K on DraftKings. If you look at the last 2 game logs, 22 minutes against Boston in a close game, 32 minutes against Milwaukee in a close game, scores double figures in both, has been a pest in the passing lanes with 2 steals each, and with Kevin Knox gone, there's a lot of shot opportunity. So I think Dotson is a really deep dive tournament play that I'm going to be using a lot because he allows us, there are so many good top tier options that he just allows us to get more than we should be able to, honestly.
No, I agree with you there. I think there's, as you mentioned, great value over on DraftKings. He's actually in, one of my lineups because of you. You brought him sort of to my attention, and you're going to need the savings, especially trying to pay up for some of these other guys. Let's move on to small forward, as we mentioned. A lot of guys here at this spot: Giannis, LeBron, Durant, Leonard. We're not telling you not to play these guys. But we're both really in agreement that we think LeBron James is the guy of the slate against Phoenix. Highest point total. LeBron's not going to go 0-4 to begin his Lakers career. He's not losing to the LA Lakers, I don't believe.
To the Suns.
Sorry, yeah.
If you lose to the Lakers, that would be a very twist.
He might lose to the Lakers. He's not going to lose to the Suns. He's going to get the Lakers their first win. There was a quote that's saying, like Kobe said, if they go 0-5, he might consider retirement. I don't think he wants that to happen. So, LeBron, lock and load, top play of the slate for me, in my opinion. I know you agree. But again, I ask you this question all the time. If you have to rank them, how are you going? LeBron, Durant, and Giannis?
LeBron, Giannis, Durant. But it's like LeBron and then Giannis, Durant. Like you could flip a coin and I don't care. But if I'm ranking them, it's gonna be LeBron, Giannis, Durant.
Yeah, that's fair. If we're going to go down into the mid-tier at small forward, who's catching your eye? Where are you looking at?
I think Taurean Prince is a very safe upside play. Yep. 20 or actually he's averaging more than 20 points a game. Trae Young and him are the go-to scorers on this game. I know Dwayne Dedmon's back, but that doesn't he's not going to hinder anything for Taurean. So I think Prince is really safe. I like Jason Richardson. I mean, again, the Heat depth is just not there. He is only trailing D Wade in usage rate on this team. I think the shots are going to be there, and I don't think anyone's going to own him at this price. I don't think people realize how good he's been. The last game he was
burned people last game because of fouls.
Yeah, exactly. That was going to be my exact point. Like the only reason he didn't perform last game is because of foul trouble, and we've seen time and time again that foul trouble just ruins a lot of players' nights. So yeah, I think Richardson's a really strong play. GPP, TJ Warren, baby, Give me TJ Warren. Give me a few more minutes.
Talking about him. You were definitely talking about him.
I just want a few more minutes, man. That's all I'm asking. 26 minutes?
This is a guy that was very productive. I know last few years as a starter, over in with the Suns. But again, for whatever reason, minutes are a little bit diminished here. And kind of because of it, the production hasn't been able to hit that ceiling. A couple guys on DraftKings that are also shooting guard eligible, but shooting guard only on FanDuel we'll touch upon here. I like Danny Green, and I like your boy Justin Holiday. Both of them are in play for me. Again, they're small forward eligible on DraftKings, so we'll mention them here. FanDuel, shooting guard eligible only. But there are some other shooting guards that you mentioned, small forwards rather, that you mentioned that you liked. You thought that Jay Crowder was someone we could look at tonight. And for me, as long as Harrison Barnes is out, Dorian Finney-Smith is a nice little value play. He's going to get you over 20 fantasy points in that 4.5 to 5x range. Again, this is a really good spot for him in terms of pace, in terms of total. A good matchup for him against Atlanta. Yeah,
I think Finney-Smith doesn't give you like tremendous upside, but I think he provides you with a nice floor. Especially, we saw Carlisle loves him. For whatever reason, he's going to play him, the shorter guy, over like Dwight Powell, who gets on the floor for 20 minutes and puts up 50.
Crazy point.
It's just what it is. He's going to play Finney-Smith, so I have no problem with it. I think Jay Crowder matches up better with Houston than Derek Favors does. So I think Crowder sees a lot of the minutes at the 4 tonight. Yep. So I think that is why I like him. I think I like Crowder for all formats, honestly. He's been super effective. His whole career, he was super effective in Boston. We knew it. We 3-and-D. Now he gets to Utah, 3-and-D again, and he's back to being the same guy he was in Boston. I love him. I think he's being a little overlooked too, just considering these ownership percentages. But yeah, how about if we get news that Jan Mahimi sits? I think Kelly Oubre, he's going to want to make me gouge my eyeballs out because I think he's been like my worst nemesis in my DFS career.
Oubre cost me like a humongous night one night. He like fouled out. He got like 7 points while the rest of my lineup went off. Still had a good night, but really kept me from having a great night. So I'm with you there. But yeah, you mentioned they go small, especially when Mahiney's out. They're going to have to continue to go small. Another guy you mentioned, who I thought you were going there with that Mahiney call, was Jeff Green. Jeff Green's played, over 20 minutes in all 3 games so far. Twice has he gone over 20 fantasy points. He's another guy I think you can look at sub 4K over on DraftKings, over on FanDuel. Green is $3,700 there as well, so just above min price.
Yeah, I think, one of the two is going to win you a lot of money. I don't know which.
Could,
correct. Depending on Mahimi. I never thought the needle would be moving because of Jan Mahimi, but it is. It just is because, Mahimi sat the second half this past Monday, I think, and Oubre starts the second half and scores 22 points. Missed like 2 shots. I think he was like 9 of 11 from the floor. And Jeff Green's been kind of just steadily playing every night too. So I think Oubre, Green, I'll even throw an extreme dart Austin Rivers if we want to go there. It just has to be said. I know he's not the best, but there were times last year, Daddy's boy was playing 38 minutes a night. So I think those guys are in play if we hear that Jan Mahimi, and thank God for late swap, right? So
it's true. Also, you can FanDuel, you can put him in your lineup, and if it doesn't happen, his points don't count, so it doesn't matter. Power forwards position, we're going to move this on a little quick because roster locks in 25 minutes. We still got some lineups to get out on site. LaMarcus Aldridge, Kevin Love, I think is the coin flip of the day. I'm all over Kevin Love, though. I love this. The way he's being used right now. He's got 30% usage rate. We're seeing him put up rebounding numbers that we haven't seen since his Minnesota days. 25 and 19 against Minnesota a couple of games ago. 16 and 17 against Atlanta. Now he gets the Nets, who are a terrible defensive team against forward center position. They don't rebound the basketball. I know that RHJ is coming back tonight, but he's going to be limited, they said, or minutes will be monitored. This is, for me, just almost must play for Kevin Love.
Yeah, you said it all. I think I prefer Love So I think I like Aldridge more on FanDuel because he's cheaper, right? Isn't
Nope.
K Love?
No, he's more expensive than Love on FanDuel. He's $600 more expensive. I think
Which
they're similarly priced on DraftKings as well. So,
DraftKings, he is okay. It was I mixed it, so I think I prefer Love on FanDuel and Aldridge on DraftKings.
yep, that's right. Again, it's $600 FanDuel, $300 DraftKings. Not the biggest of differences, but I understand any of those savings can bump you up a player. That's pretty significant. And the Pacers aren't a great rebounding team. I know Sabonis, definitely solidifies them, but he comes off the bench, so you're going to get a lot of Marcus Aldridge up against a Miles Turner or a Thad Young that he can definitely take advantage of. And again, he's him and DeRozan, I think, are playing a lot better than we saw maybe him and Kawhi play, or just seems like they flow a little bit better with their skill sets. And we're seeing it pay off. Aldridge, 61 fantasy points against the Lakers, opening 90 at 57 against Minnesota. Maybe we're seeing a trend here against Minnesota that we need to start paying attention to with the way Love and Aldridge handled their matchups against them. Moving down, we had a question about Bobby Portis earlier on. What do you think about him here against Charlotte? I never loved the Charlotte bigs, unless Hernan Gomez is actually going to be on the floor, which he won't. So I think advantage Portis here, athletically at least.
I don't think we've gotten word on Jabari Parker yet. I think I like Portis more if Parker sits because he was questionable. He doesn't do anything for me in this matchup. I know it's a juicy matchup, and the total
Parker is expected to play.
Okay, so yeah, I don't think we need to do it. 6.9K. I'd rather just play Kuzma at the same price tag.
Okay. Yep, I'm not going to sit here and disagree. I still think, given the matchup, if you're going to game stack, Portis probably should be in there. Jaren Jackson, too expensive for you on FanDuel. How about on DraftKings?
He's fine on DraftKings. 5.4. It's a solid price.
Getting the center eligible tag there on DraftKings, too.
Which is really nice because center is, after the top tier, after DeAndre Ayton, and, I know people are going to play Cantor, but once after that, it gets really bleak. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily love Miles Turner. I don't love Valanciunas. Willie Cauley-Stein is, I don't want to play him.
Yeah.
I do like Ibaka, though, at either center or, the eligibility. At that same price tag, we could play him at either position. So, I think I really like Ibaka tonight. He's starting.
And we just talked about how, power forwards or centers have really, again, top of the tier in terms of Love and Aldridge, but they've had success, against Minnesota this season. Towns isn't that good of a defender and hasn't been that great of a rebounder this year. So, definitely, I think there's some upside in those matchups for sure. Let's see how they did against Turner last game. See if there's actually is a trend here against Minnesota. Turner at 16-3, but again, he doesn't play. So whatever. Where are you going next? Sort of at the mid-tier power forward spot.
So the mid-tier is Markieff Morris for me. And it was Ron Hollis Jefferson, and we were off air, and I got super mad because there's no reason he should be limited.
Yeah.
He had his kid was born. It's not like he's injured here. He played during the preseason. He has a juicy matchup. Kevin Love, 109 defensive rating. Tristan Thompson, 112. So whoever he was matched up against, he would destroy. I think we monitored is better than limited. Yeah. I think he could eventually just go out and, give us 30-plus minutes if he's moving well. It's just a little scary. You have to only limit it to tournaments now that that's the case. And I think Markieff, again, Mahinmi was there last game, and Markieff was in foul trouble all game, and he put up 28 actual points and 9 rebounds. So I think just the fact that there's no Dwight Howard, there's possibly no Jan Mahinmi, I think Markieff is firmly in play. As long as he doesn't get thrown out of a game, I think he's viable for all formats. Yeah,
I won't argue with that. Some cheaper options we can look at. We don't need to go too much into detail and think, but we mentioned Dwight Powell being the, point per minute monster. Haven't played more than 17 minutes in any game this season, but averaging 29 fantasy points. I mentioned Sabonis. Again, he comes off the bench, but he's a double-double threat even off the bench. 17 minutes against Minnesota, had 8 and 7. The 2 games before that, 22 minutes and 28 minutes, both double-double performances, 30 fantasy points. So love the upside for him there. And I think Noah Vonleh could be potentially an interesting option as well. With Kevin Knox out, Vonleh getting a little bit more run. Not a ton more run, but the production's kind of been there for him. And, if it ends up going away from Whiteside, maybe Vonleh becomes a little bit more valuable. James, let's run quickly on to center so we can get back in the subscriber chat and get these lineups out for everybody.
Lineups are out.
Lineups are out. Perfect then. Lineups are out. Embiid at the top of the center list. Loved him in this matchup before Simmons. Simmons being back. Still a really great matchup against Milwaukee. Do you go there?
I think you can. I don't know how many shares I'm personally going to have, but I'm not going to tell you not to. Maybe the second night of a back-to-back, he doesn't play as many minutes, but then again, there's no signs pointing to that. So, yeah, I think you can do it. I don't know how many shares. Like, if I'm going to build, let's say, 10 lineups, I might have 1, maybe 2 shares of Embiid, but you could do it. But I don't love it as much with Simmons playing.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, again, and the back-to-back, like you mentioned as well, could obviously be a little bit of a detractor there. I don't like Towns versus Toronto. DeAndre Jordan gets Atlanta, though. I know that, you should.
There it is, right on cue.
Yeah, right on cue. The bark. That means that's a lock. And DeAndre Jordan. I know Dedmon's going to be back. Dedmon, a decent defender, but who knows how limited.
15 minutes.
15, perfect. So, yeah, I think DeAndre Jordan in a great spot here for rebounds. Gets the lobs, gets the scoring again. Block shots for sure. I love him.
Yeah, I mean, it was weird to see the game against the Bulls. I know I was bold and I said he would get 20 rebounds. I'm pretty sure it was on the live stream. Yeah. I made my first bold prediction of the year. I'm going to double down on that prediction here tonight, and I'm going to say 20. Against the Bulls, it was weird because he didn't play. Like, I was talking to you like on chat, and like halfway through the third, he was removed, and then he didn't play until like 3 minutes left in the fourth. So I think if this game can stay close, which it is projected to do, I think Jordan sees uptick in minutes, and I don't think Alex Len and Dwayne Dedmon stand a chance. Doubling down, 20 rebounds, DeAndre Jordan.
Oh, I'll be on the lookout for it. That's for sure. Mid-tier centers, I like DeAndre Ayton. Again, I put him in the starting 5. I think he's got a good matchup here against the Lakers. You have the stat. Basketball Reference says that LeBron James plays center like 45% of the time or something, some crazy like that. It's basically him and JaVale McGee splitting time at center. If that's the case, then, as good as LeBron is, he doesn't really love playing defense anymore. And Ayton just has a tremendous size advantage over him. So I think this is going to be a really good spot for him. I like, JaVale McGee in this matchup too, just because of the price tag and the point spread and everything. He's just a total energy ball. Over 30 fantasy points in all 3 games so far this season. Think he's another guy we can look at. What other centers are on your radar tonight?
I don't have many. I do like JaVale. I love the fact that he played 28 minutes. I think that was I think that might be more of an anomaly than anything, but in this up-tempo game, maybe that's the type of run we'll see JaVale play. 28, 26, 27, 28. I think he hits value at that. I like Tristan Thompson. I don't love Tristan Thompson, but it's kind of an undeniable fact how bad Brooklyn was against centers last year, which is also why I think Kevin Love's in play, because we're going to see Love play center. But, I mean, 27-plus minutes in all the games, 9-plus rebounds in all the games, and we've actually seen him be pretty productive offensively, which is something we're not accustomed to. I mean, they need the scoring. They don't have LeBron anymore, so some
interesting news just broke. Fred VanVleet ruled out for tonight's game, so Delon Wright potentially, more in play than he was before, making his season debut. But I also think this bumps up Danny Green even more. I don't know exactly how you feel on that, but the fact that depth shrinks a little bit, Wright coming back for his first game, I think Danny Green is in a really good spot here.
Yeah, I think it bumps up Danny Green. I think Delon Wright, I'm going to take a wait-and-see approach. I think you could do it in a tournament. I don't think it's terrible. His price on DraftKings is $4,000. I actually think that's a little too expensive for someone who hasn't played yet.
Yeah.
And we did
see him have pretty big games at times last year, but I agree. I think I'm going to take a wait and see. If I'm making 20 lineups in the 20 max, I'll put him in a couple. But for me, I think this bumps up Danny Green. He's only $4,400. $400 more on DraftKings. I think I'd rather play Danny Green than risk Delon Wright.
It probably bumps up Kyle Lowry a little bit too, right? If Delon Wright's is limited and there's no Fred VanVleet to back him up, Kyle Lowry, 7.6K, gets Jeff Teague / Derrick Rose defense. I know that the usage has been like all over the place this year,
Yeah.
but the assists have been awesome lately.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think he works better with Leonard so far than we've seen from him.
Right, with DeRozan. Yeah, I agree. And so maybe a bump up. So I think definitely a bump to Danny Green and because Van Vliet was playing alongside Lowry at times, and I think it bumps up Lowry as well. So I think both of them get a little bump here.
Yeah, I won't argue with that. If you want a complete punt option potentially, then Norman Powell maybe also sort of fills into that little gap there. If we think Wright's gonna be limited and no Van Vliet, he plays shooting guard as well. All right, so let's wrap up the live stream for tonight. We're going to be in the subscriber chat for the next 15 minutes to answer your lineup questions. Any more injury news that comes up, we'll be on here for you to help it out. Let's win some money tonight, James.
I am totally done with that, brother.
Yep, for sure. So we'll be back on the live stream tomorrow, and we'll hit you guys up then.
Later, guys.